Hollywood is filled with a lot of amazingly gifted entertainers and creators, but oftentimes, some don't feel as highly regarded as others. Plenty of the top well-known Black entertainers get their flowers all the time. But what about the ones that are not as popular? The ones you don't realize are just as talented, successful, and relevant, that have been doing it just as long or longer, but just don't get the appropriate amount of recognition. They deserve their flowers too, don't they? Well, that's what your main man Easy Leezy is here for. So, come with me now, as we take some time to highlight and appreciate some amazing, underappreciated Black entertainers. Now, for some of us, especially Black people, sure, we know these people. We're aware of their careers, but sometimes as generations go, sadly, they get lost in history. When some of these people were integral parts of garnering a significant level of exposure and relevancy in an often biased, prejudiced environment. As people debate current greatness, they often diminish and devalue the pioneers of previous eras, who established the foundation for which these people can put their houses of prominence upon. For this episode, this isn't just an exercise in appreciation, but a history lesson. Now, I mentioned Kenan Thompson in the first video, and hopefully people know that he is not only the longest tenured Black cast member of SNL, but the longest cast member of all time. But who was the first Black SNL cast member? No, not Eddie Murphy. It was Garrettmorris. That's right. Garrettmorris seems like he's been around forever, and being 60 years in the industry, he has been. With SNL being the jump-off point, his career was defined long before that show. Student of the Juilliard School of Music, Mr. Morris began his career as a singer, singing in church choirs as a youth, and eventually performing with the Belafonte Folk Singers and recording an album called Saturday Night Suite. And it's in that which led him to stage and musical theater. The thing I appreciate the most and find the most meaningful is the fact that he's been a notable fixture on some of the best sitcoms of all time, some that I grew up watching, including Martin and The Jamie Foxx Show. That gives you an idea of his value as an entertainer. Clearly, performing has always been in his blood, which is no surprise at the ripe old age of 87, he's still going strong, and it shows the power of why his career has been so consistent and successful. Garrettmorris is a true triple threat that has gone irresponsibly underappreciated. Hopefully, he gets his flowers soon enough. Okay, when you talk about Kenan as part of a long line of sketch comedy legends, there is but one who was the true pioneer of and originator of Black sketch comedy, and that is Flip Wilson. Considered the first Black TV superstar, Mr. Wilson solidified himself as a sharp comedic talent early on, having earned quite a rep as a stand-up, garnering attention from Red Fox and Johnny Carson. But it wasn't until the breakout hit, The Flip Wilson Show, where he got the most recognized. And it was in that Mr. Wilson was the first African-American to host a successful Black variety show. There were many before who dabbled, including Nat King Cole, Ethel Waters, and of course, Sammy Davis Jr. But it was Flip's natural ability and charisma that seemed to set him apart and allow for sustained success. The Flip Wilson Show was a cultural staple. Not only was it a mainstream darling, having George Carlin as one of the writers I'm sure helped, but it featured some of the most successful and popular stars of the era, including one with a young Michael Jackson in a sketch about simple math that you have to go out of your way to find and check out, because it's comedy gold. But aside from that, The Flip Wilson Show was an impactful series in which awarded him a Golden Globe and 2 Emmys in a time, the 60s and 70s, where Black entertainers were only starting to really push through the obstacles, boundaries, and stigmas often put on them. Of course, for some, you can't speak on Flip Wilson's impact without mentioning the controversial and underlying trope of Black men in wearing dresses, with this character Geraldine being the first most prime example. While there is very thick smoke to the idea that it's mainstream media's attempt to emasculate Black greatness, that's another story for another time. Flip Wilson's legacy is more than Geraldine. It's more than just the Flip Wilson show. He broke barriers and gave young Black comedians like Keenen Ivory Wayans, Dave Chappelle, and Key and Peele a lane to drive in. A true TV icon providing decades of laughs, Flip Wilson is a true OG. If you haven't seen my previous videos, when I do these, I like to include a director/producer, someone more known for their behind-the-camera work. This time, when you talk about underappreciated OGs, there's one I felt obligated to mention as a primary example of someone who was grossly underknown, Melvin Van Peebles. I'll admit, I didn't know much about Melvin Van Peebles going into this, and I only vaguely knew of his son Mario. But learning about his influence and genius as a writer and independent filmmaker, especially in a time where Black movies weren't respected as it was, there's a reason he's known as the Rosa Parks of the industry. Ever present in his most notorious work, Sweet Sweetback's Badass song, the foundation for the emergence of the Blaxploitation era. Not only did he write the film, he funded the film, directed it, and edited the film, and wrote the score and directed the marketing campaign. The thing I found most interesting in doing research on him was not only his mind for storytelling and righteous creativity in filmmaking, but his ability to do everything. Not a slave to Hollywood standards and practices, he did it all himself. Something like that is not appreciated enough in the industry. The right word is pioneer, but the correct word is trailblazer. My man doesn't deserve his flowers, he deserves a garden. And hopefully now, after his passing, he gets held in the highest of regards, not just in Black cinema history, but overall. Now, it's clear that Black actresses don't get a lot of recognition and appreciation as it stands, but Black female comedians get even less. Sure, from Whoopi to Haddish and the few in between, there's a respectable presence, but it seems they are the least appealing. Now, since the theme is OGs, what better person is there to talk about on a list highlighting unappreciated people than the original queen of comedy, Momsmabley? Actually born Loretta Mary Aiken, another Loretta for the team, the ultimate barrier-breaking, trailblazing comedian. Miss Mabley is widely regarded as one of the first successful Black female stand-up comedians, and her sharp wit, social commentary, and distinct style laid the foundation for generations of performers. We all know the Chitlin Circuit, but just in case you don't know, it was a network of venues that showcased African American performers during the era of segregation. It was the launchpad for Mom's success, not only sharpening her skills, but mastering her craft, while also dabbling in vaudeville and burlesque. She worked her way to eventually becoming the first female comic headliner at the Apollo Theater. With her 1969 album, The Funniest Woman in the World, a commercial success, she got to perform at the prestigious Carnegie Hall, an unprecedented achievement for a Black female comedian at the time. It was Mom's breakout persona as a sassy, wisecracking old lady that really got mainstream attention on shows like Ed Sullivan and the Smothers Brothers. It was geniusly a deliberate choice, allowing her to deliver incisive social and political critiques under the guise of humor in a way that was both bold and accessible, resonating deeply with diverse audiences. This approach influenced comedians like Richard Pryor, Whoopi Goldberg, and Wanda Sykes, who credit her for showing how comedy can be a tool for social change. Her work is often overlooked in discussions about the pioneers of modern comedy. This oversight reflects broader systemic issues that have historically minimized the cultural impact of people like her. Perhaps her biggest legacy is not only her bold fearlessness and edginess, in a delicate time, but doing so as an openly gay black female. I mean, that's pretty much the trifecta there. And yet she left an indelible mark on the industry and deserves more recognition for the inspirational, influential icon that she was. To round out this list, it was a difficult task to decide amongst the many who I should conclude with on a list of OGs. Then it hit me. He's perfect. Nipsey fucking Russell. Much respect to Mr. Hustle, but this is the OG Nipsey. Don't get it twisted. Every year on Christmas Eve, while I'm cooking, I watch The Wiz. And as much as I love Michael Jackson, my favorite character in that movie is the goddamn Tin Man, because of Nipsey Russell. Mr. Russell carved a unique place for himself in the entertainment industry. Known for his wit, charm, and sharp humor, he was a beloved figure in both comedy and musical theater early on. But it was his success in early vaudeville that really ignited his path to stardom, much like Momsmabley. With an incomparable ability to perform in a variety of formats, his distinct style combining sharp observational humor with rhyme set him apart. Known for his ability to turn any situation into a punchline, you could say he was an originator of improvisational comedy. No stranger to Broadway either, and film, obviously. He had an undeniable ability to steal the show with his charismatic, energetic presence. It's almost as if he was made to perform. I mean, to reiterate, his performance as the Tin Man in The Wiz is a prime example of his jack-of-all-trades entertainment value. An iconic feature on countless game shows, talk shows, and variety shows. I mean, there's too many to name. The thing I found fascinating the most was his trademark ability to come up with humorous poems, sometimes off the cuff, which I certainly resonated with. And it was through that he was fittingly deemed the poet laureate of television. Although with his consistent presence in these productions, Mr. Russell, while highly respected among his peers and audiences, and a key figure in elevating African American entertainers' visibility on mainstream platforms, his style, often more polished and less confrontational than other edgy established stars of the time, like Richard Pryor or Red Fox, potentially hindered his overall recognition and impact, never quite matching that of his contemporaries. Despite these challenges, Nipsey's career remained a testament to his resilience, versatility, and talent. His legacy as a pioneering black entertainer and TV icon is immensely significant and grossly overlooked. He brought a level of sophistication, humor, grace, and creativity to comedy that was unmatched, while also bridging the gap between urban and mainstream entertainment, and ultimately influencing future generations of performers. And that's it. These are just some of the many entertainers that get lost amongst greatness. There are many others to mull over who have been grossly under-recognized as far as careers and talents go. But that's another video for another time. So stay tuned. For now, thank you for watching. Check out my other videos for more interesting conversations with myself. See ya.